Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video we're going to look at an interesting little book that's lighthouse focused, oddly enough. I do in fact love lighthouses. They're one of my favorite things. And I love the idea of travel, which is something that attracted me to my husband. We both like to travel. But this is Faraway Things. The story is by Dave Eggers and the art is by Kelly Murphy. The art in here is beautiful. So this is a little story about a little boy who frequently you get the idea that his father's passed. And his father's passed not too long ago, but he's afraid of forgetting them. He lives on the coast, and after big storms, he goes and looks at basically the stuff the storm brought in onto the beach. And this one day his father calls them faraway things. So that's where this comes from. And so one day he finds a sword, this cutlass, on the shore. And the next day he goes off wandering the beach, and people come aboard. There's a ship out there, a sailing ship. And this couple comes aboard, and they ask, like, where'd the lighthouse go? And essentially they could have used it a couple days ago, so I'm guessing they're a big storm, and they had lost his cutlass. And so the captain of the ship, this is very obviously modern. I'm guessing the ship is a museum ship of sorts. And so he says to our little main character, Lucian, I will give you anything on my ship if you give me my sword back, essentially. And so Lucian goes with them. He has his own little skiff, so he rows over with them to their ship, which is beached on the shore. Let's see how pretty the art house is. And here you kind of see the fact that there's a lighthouse here. You see the base of the lighthouse on top of the hill. And they go, they're digging out their ship, and he climbs onto the boat, and you have this huge storage room on the ship. This is like the captain's quarters on the ship. And he looks around and he sees so many different things. And then he picks a lantern. And he gives him back the sword, and they get the ship free. And he goes home, and he takes the lantern. You can see him running up there. Again, the illustrations here are very, very pretty. And he takes it up, and he puts it in his father's lighthouse. So that's this cute little story. It's very, very pretty. Apparently, in the very back, it mentions that it was part of the Young Editors Project, where young readers get to see a manuscript in progress and help give comments on it. So that's another cute thing about this book. So it's a very cute, very simple little story. Depending on attention span, it might be decent for bedtime. I wouldn't, as a librarian, wouldn't have ever read this in story time just because it's too long. It's too wordy. It may not seem that way, but it can be very too long and too wordy, and I think it's too deep for toddler times. But I enjoy it as a parent. I would definitely read this to my kids. It's a very, very pretty story. Again, I'm a huge lighthouse person, and the idea of living by a beach in an old lighthouse and being able to collect things upon the shore is definitely appealing to me. Again, lighthouse lover would love to live in an actual lighthouse. But it's a cute little story, a fun little read. You don't really get the background of where the kid's father is. It's definitely implied that he's passed. So he lives alone with his mom. And it mentions in the book that he tries to make up stories that become memories of his father because he's afraid he's forgetting the real memories, which is kind of sad. It's like he's maybe about 10 or 11 years old, so he's obviously, his dad died and he has some memories and he's trying to hold on to them. And this kind of sword helps him, but he also he gets this lantern, and once his father probably was at one point in time a lighthouse keeper at this lighthouse, and when essentially was decommissioned, and they basically probably bought the home and made it their continuous home because the lighthouse wasn't being used anymore, he wanted to keep his father's memory alive. So very, very cute book. Definitely recommended. Again, this is Faraway Things beautiful art. Always recommend the art. I'm surprised this has any sort of awards on it. It's actually utterly beautiful art, apparently. How is it done? Hopefully the author mentioned something about this book. Let's see, it was created in acrylic ink, gel medium, pencil, and watercolor on paper. So it's definitely a combination of different art, which is also a good thing if your kids are interested in art. That's always one of the interesting things about picture books, is not only are they appealing to little kids, but they're art. So you can look at the art and look at how they're created. So that is it for this book review. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I do a lot of picture books. I do a lot of other children's, sometimes chapter books. I do some older film, mostly family or education-oriented film reviews. Some of our classics. I'm an 80s kid, so some of the films I picked are they're good memories of my childhood. Not always the best, but I do warnings on there. I also do some family travel videos, and we are a secular homeschooling family, so I do some education videos here and there. As of this video, my daughter is almost 3, so those educational videos will probably start coming a little bit more as she gets older. So that is it. Be sure to like and subscribe to see what I've got and see what I have coming. Thank you.